Welcome, car guy. Love your videos. Thank you for your support.
Hey guys, so today I've come all the way up to Bromley because there is an anti-ULEZ protest taking place here. There's quite a turnout, quite a lot of people here. There's some very important people here as well from the local council, and there's a few people giving talks and speeches as well up on the podium behind me. So it'll be interesting to see how this day goes. There's a pretty good turnout. We're right in the middle of the market, so we're in Market Square in Bromley, and let's go talk to a few people and find out what people really feel about the ULEZ expansion that's happening in August this year.
Good afternoon, my name's Colin Smith. I'm the leader of Bromley Council, just here to add my support to this worthy protest against the ULEZ.
And why do you think it is important to do that, being here in Bromley?
We've got the second cleanest air in London, only marginally behind Havering. Our air is cleaner than every single borough in the existing ULEZ. This scheme, at great cost to the taxpayer, adds next to nothing. Even by the Mayor's own report, there is no discernible benefit in extending ULEZ. It's a tax raid, pure and simple, and if he wants to put tax up, he should put it through proper process, get it voted on and take responsibility for it, rather than sneaking it through the back door on a false health scare. Absolutely outrageous, and that's why I'm here.
If you look at the socio-economic impacts, how is that going to affect Bromley itself in terms of the businesses and local commercial activity?
Local businesses, and you've been around the protest here a while, you'll have heard the same drivers, the same business owners as I am, talking to us about not being able to carry on their business or having to exchange their vehicles for 10,000, 20,000, even more for some people that run more than one car. The inability to lay their hands on Euro 7 cars, 2-year waiting lists. My real concern, my passionate concern, is around the impact this is going to have on care networks. 60-year-old sons visiting 85-year-old mums syndromes. If they stay overnight, it doubles from £12.50 to £25. It's just taxing people beyond misery. It's so unfair, and that's why we're here. That's why we're determined to do everything we can legally to prevent this and get the Mayor to rethink.
And how far are you willing to go on this? Are you going to court on this?
I can't talk about the legals. I'm on a threats of death or worse. But our legal case will become known over the course of coming days, and all will be revealed at that stage.
If I asked you honestly, what do you think are the chances of it actually going ahead, knowing what you know, what you can't disclose, etc.? I understand.
I wouldn't want to put an odds on it. The case has to be argued. Who knows? Law can be a strange thing at times. We're committed to the fight, but I think more than that, if the law isn't sufficient and we can't stop it, I think there's a very, very sound case for saying to the government, you need to stop in and prevent this from going ahead. With the greatest respect, and I'm not one that gets involved in personality politics, the Mayor's administration is totally out of control. They're not listening to people. They want to tax people beyond more than they can afford. It needs stopping. The government intervened in Scotland recently, albeit for completely different reasons. They can intervene if the case is strong enough, and I would urge if we need them, that they come to the rescue, as it were. But for now, we fight on and we fight to win.
If councils just refuse to put in the camera and the signage, does that actually stop it, or can they override that?
Part of the legal debate. What TfL can do on the red route networks is effectively what they want in terms of erecting cameras on their kit. It's a shame, but they can do it. What they can't do, we would contend, and this is a big debate, is just put what they want where they want on the borough roads. TfL believe they can, and that is part of the great debate that we need to have. We'll have to see the maps. The borough leaders are now seeing where they want to put the cameras, and the network is extensive. Their desired network is extensive. Be in no doubt, this is not about health. What the Mayor is attempting to do is erect an absolutely impenetrable network of cameras across the entire capital out to, effectively to the M25. What he is going to do, if he gets away with it, is he's going to introduce road price charging at the flick of a switch. That's what it's all about.
And final question, ultimately, who can overrule him? Does he answer to anybody? Because he makes out as if he's the man and this is his decision. If it goes to court and whatever, how does that system work?
Only a judge or only the government can ultimately force him to change path if he doesn't do it voluntarily. And our hope, and one of the great things about seeing protests like this today, is there is a real well of public support. You can feel it, it's gathering, it's live. The more this comes to being, the better the chances we've got. The mayor will be we know the mayor's under pressure. To some extent he doesn't really care what Tories in Tory boroughs think or say. What he cares about is what Labour councillors and Labour MPs and Labour London Assembly people think. If I could leave your viewers with one thought, it is put them under pressure, put Labour councillors under pressure, put Labour MPs under pressure, put Labour assemblymen under pressure. They are his weak spot. The more of them that start getting queasy about their constituencies and how upset their residents are, the more likely it is they'll crack and the mayor will begin to have to think in terms of compromise, which, as we all know, isn't his strong suit.
Thank you so much for talking to us.
Pleasure, take care, good weekend.
Brown card guy.
Hello, I'm Peter Fortune and I'm the London Assembly member for Bexley and Bromley. And it's my job at the London Assembly to hold Mayor Khan to account for this outrageous tax grab that's the expansion of the ULEZ.
That is amazing. I mean, this is a great opportunity to talk to somebody who's actually in a position to hold him to account. I do a lot of content about ULEZ and I'm talking about the pros and cons, but for somebody to actually be there, I mean, is he open to argument and discussion? Because he seems like somebody who's just hell-bent on this.
I don't think he is, and I've asked him a lot of questions, and you can find those on YouTube to try and understand his thinking. Now, he will wrap this argument up in an argument about air quality. Now, the interesting thing about that is nobody in their right mind would want to oppose improving air quality. Who would want to? However, there's an independent report from Jacobs, and there's recent independent reports that tell us that the expansion of this camera network will have a negligible effect on air quality, right? If what you want to do is you want to improve air quality, you can take the 350 odd million pounds that he's going to spend expanding the cameras, and you can spend it on electrifying bus routes, you can pinpoint areas of poor air quality and have local solutions. You don't need this one size fits all tax grab that's going to hit the poorest the hardest. It's going to put businesses out of business. It's going to stop people visiting friends and family. People who are jumping in a perfectly good and serviceable vehicle 2 or 3 times a week to go to the hospital, to visit friends and family, go to a bingo club, whatever, are all of a sudden going to be taxed an unaffordable amount simply because of what I believe Mayor Khan's ego trip to expand this camera network to enhance his position on the world stage.
You think that's what it is? It's all about, or is it about revenue? Is it about basically investing for a future where you can generate a lot of revenue?
The revenue is a case in point. So the mayor hasn't managed TfL particularly well. It's unquestionable that COVID had an impact, which is why the government stepped in with nearly £6 billion of money to fill that hole. The government paid for the COVID bill to TfL. What's going on at TfL is an exorbitant pension, a pension fund that an independent report said could be reviewed and could save £100 million. It's the free tickets that are given to employees of TfL and the people that live with them to travel around. It's the overburdening management, it's the lack of efficiency. There's a lot of work that can be done at TfL to save some money, but the mayor hasn't done that. He hasn't done the hard work. He had a bizarre fare freeze years ago which baked in this deficit. So this expanding camera network is his way of filling that cash hole, and he should just be honest about it.
So this is a cheat code. You know, I was coming up here to this beautiful place of Bromley on the train. And on the way here, I was looking outside the window, and it looked like a really rural place. I mean, there was a lot of green, a lot of trees. And when you look at the areas like this, and you look at the whole argument about congestion and air quality, it goes out the window. How will it affect Bromley in particular?
What's interesting, where we're standing now, we're probably closer to an airport than we are a tube station. I represent Bexley and Bromley. There's not one tube station in either of those boroughs, and that's the bottom right-hand corner of London. We don't have the transport infrastructure that they have in inner London, and they take a very inner London view at City Hall, and they don't think about the way that life is out here. Again, I go back to my earlier point. Of course you would want to improve air quality. Why wouldn't you? But if you go out to areas like Biggin Hill, actually one of the Biggin Hill councillors spoke earlier, that ward is bigger than Islington. right? That's the kind of, and it's rural, it's farmland. So we don't need the same traffic solutions that you need in inner London. And this is where I think that the mayor's being disingenuous, because he's taking arguments that apply in Camden or Islington and trying to apply them in farmland in Biggin Hill. It's ridiculous.
And being right there in the GLA, what would you put the chances of this expansion going ahead in August? I mean, myself, I was at the end of last year, I reckon it's 95% definitely happening. But with all of the councils, ganging up against him, so to speak, and some senior MPs and people such as yourself, really being vociferous about it, what do you think is the likelihood of this actually going ahead?
We're going to try our best to stop it and delay it. The key thing here is to get more people to talk about it. And if you look at this turnout today, and if you look at everybody who is emailing or phoning me and councillors and colleagues right across Bexley, right across Bromley, people are upset about this. So we need to keep this conversation going, because the mayor needs to hear the voices of the people that are going to be impacted. So that's what we're going to try and do.
Awesome. Thank you so much for talking to us.
No, pleasure. And I love your webcast as well. They're really good.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
No worries. Cheers.
Brown card guy.
My name's Anne. I've come along to support the protest against the ULEZ. I live just in Orpington, just literally a few hundred yards inside the proposed zone. I drive a 2014 Citroen C4, but it's a 7-seater because I carry teenagers and my mobility scooter and stuff like that. And I just think it's ridiculous. My car's
That's a diesel, is it?
It's a diesel. It's got 66,000 miles on it. It's got a DPF, stop-start, and it's £20 a year tax because it's so low polluting. At the time, it was the lowest polluting car I could possibly buy that suits my family needs. We never drive into London. We use it. We holiday in this country. So I drive to Scotland and Blackpool with the kids and stuff, and we camp in it. It's a car that does everything for us. But I can't afford to buy a new one. He's just knocked £2,000 off the value of mine to get a comparable car with similar mileage.
So let me ask you, because supposedly there are allowances in the scrappage scheme and in the ULEZ scheme for disability allowances and cars that have been converted. They say that the grant is more. Does none of that help you at all?
No. To get the disability element of this, to get exemption from the ULEZ, you have to have, I think, enhanced rate mobility. That is down to the DWP and the PIP system, whether they grant you that. I don't apparently qualify, despite using a mobility scooter, for anything longer than just coming up the road. Benefits side of it, he says that poor people don't own cars, but then puts out a scrappage scheme for people on lower income benefits. And then I was talking to someone the other day, they've applied for it and they're on ESA, but if they get it, ESA will stop their money. They'll get sanctioned the money because it's seen as an income, which kind of means it's pointless for them.
So what are you going to do?
Fight this all the way. I've got until August, but I will keep going. Yeah. I have to because I'm not the only one, and I work for I'm a care coordinator. A lot of our carers don't have compliant cars, and it's going to hit.
Actually, yes. Tell me how this is, because there's a lot of discussion about how this is going to impact carers, and basically people are going to be deprived of their services.
Carers will do what they have to do. If they have to upgrade, then, or not upgrade, because you don't have to upgrade. You can get an older car that's compliant. But the problem is, you're then looking at a car going from a car that you know is reliable to something that is a complete unknown and could be, broken down, within a week. So carers will do what they have to do to make sure they get to their clients, but they shouldn't have to do it.
You were at Trafalgar Square as well, and you're here, so you're really putting in the effort for this.
I will be at the next one at Trafalgar as well. Yeah, back on my mobility scooter because I'm really struggling to stand up right now.
I can tell. So thanks so much for taking the time. Go and get some rest.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you, though. I've been watching your videos and I love your pin badge, fellow Trekkie. But keep going. All the time you're doing it, we're doing it. What harm can it do?
Thank you so much. Live long and prosper.
Peace and long life.
Brown card guy.
My name's Andrew. I've come to this event because I'm against the expansion and the charges that are being incurred by the ultra low emission zone that is being implemented by Sadiq Khan and Transport for London. I'm thinking how I can kind of implement it because I drive an older, less polluting car, but even so, it's only a 1.6 litre engine. So I'm thinking how I can get round it legally. And the only thing I've been thinking of, because I've been up day and night thinking about this, as well as going to work, is that I'll have to pass on the cost to my customer. It's either that, or what I'll also have to do is either put my charges up. Now, I've already done that in existing ultra low emission zone. Because when I say to people I got to charge $12.50, actually no, I tell them I don't charge $12.50. I say I'm being charged $12.50, so I need to get $12.50 from you to pay transport for London.
This is a very interesting point, and I think that one that hasn't actually been covered a lot. The fact that people who think that they're immune because maybe they have a modern car, maybe they have a ULEZ compliant car, and that they're not going to be impacted by this, but you've just highlighted the fact that suddenly businesses that are serving them will charge them more, so they are going to be impacted by this.
Yes, you may see businesses going to the wall. People will... They say support your local business. With charges like this going to a garden... Near where I live, there is a garden centre. They closed down last year, and I went there. There was a closing down sale. I didn't know about it. I went in there and said, what's happened? And they stated ULEZ of one of the... it's called Shannon's Garden Centre. It's been there... longer than I've lived there. I've only lived there about 10 years in the area. This is in Forest Hill. And I'll tell you where that's situated. It's Shannon's Garden Centre, or was Shannon's Garden Centre, just off the North and South Circle. There's a lot of closed down shops there as well. It's not everything, but there's quite a few shops that just shut it up. I think there was a beauty clinic that's gone. There's a couple of restaurants.
Brown card guy.
Hello, my name is Wendy Gowlett, and I live in Beckenham in Kent and lived there for 40 years. And so we have recently bought a car around about 5 or 6 years ago. And so we use that car to go to garden centres, to the coast when we can afford the fuel, and also to take the dogs for a walk. And so it means that each time we leave our house, whether it's to go to the supermarket or to the doctor's surgery or to walk our dogs, it's going to cost us £12.50. The car we bought 5 or 6 years ago is non-compliant. It's a Volvo estate. We cannot afford to buy another new car. The money that we paid for it, £22,000, the most we'd ever spent on a car, came out of our savings. We are pensioners. We don't have a big income. And so it does mean that we can't afford to buy a new car.
So what will you do?
We become more and more isolated. It means that we can just really stay local, because and just mothball it and just use it for very, very special journeys, because we cannot afford a new car that's going to accommodate our 2 dogs, and even the cage in the back, which protects them and the driver, is £1,000 worth of dog cage. So we won't be able to do anything. I'm really worried. We live in leafy Beckenham. As I say, it is not polluted there. I've never ever been unwell, nor is my husband, even at our ages. I've never had shortage of breath or any problems, and so no, expanding it is just going to make us isolated. That's the thing. We won't be able to go about and see our friends.
So if anything, it affects your mental health.
Yes, definitely. Oh, definitely. Yeah. So both of us just don't know what to do for the best.
Brown card guy.
Hey guys, I caught you at the protest earlier. Tell me who you are, tell me your names, and tell me what you're doing here right now.
This is Sarah, this is my husband Pat.
I'm Pat.
We're here because we started following the action against ULEZ some months ago, when it became apparent that it was coming this way, shockingly, and the website's just growing and growing and growing. And here we are with our boards. We came 2 weeks ago, there was 12 of us. Today there was a lot more, and we're just going to keep doing it basically as often as we can to try and put a stop to this.
And I should say that the beeping that we're hearing on the camera is actually people supporting you guys. So are you doing this regularly?
Not regularly. I've been doing it for like 2 weeks now, but I'm doing it because it's my business. I'm a plasterer, and if it expands right out here, I'm going to have to sort of think about where I work and who do I pass the charge on to. So
I think a lot of tradespeople are talking about this. They're very concerned about the fact that you're basically passing us an additional cost. And I think the interesting thing to say here is that a lot of people think that it's not going to affect them because they have ULEZ compliant cars. But it is going to affect them because businesses are passing on costs.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen.
And it's not stopping here anyway. This is all a ploy to get the cameras in place, and then everybody will be affected. Everybody will be affected by it, and it's just got to stop. The things that he's been saying, the 2 main points are the fact that the pollution, air pollution, will be improved. We have excellent air pollution in Bromley. We do not need that to be.
We don't have air pollution in Bromley.
Oh, sorry. We have excellent air quality in Bromley. No air pollution. Sorry. And also the fact of the deaths. I mean, that's just an out and out lie. There's no point saying he's actually misinforming us. Call it what it is. It's a lie.
So you're braving the elements out here in the middle of the road, but you seem to be getting quite a lot of support.
Well, the thing is though, when you look at the cars now these days, majority of cars and vans, they're all pretty like newish. They're not like if you go back 20 years ago, we had really old cars. So I don't get where he's coming from.
Average age of car in London is 8 years, which most of them are ULEZ compliant. In fact, it affects less than 200,000 cars out of a total of 2.5 million cars in the London area. So the diminishing returns of all the investment just doesn't make any sense, does it?
No, none of it makes any sense, apart from the fact it's all about the money, and it's become very apparent. It's clear. What we don't understand is how one man in the GLA has so much power that even the Prime Minister, who just seems to be paying lip service to him anyway, is doing nothing about it. And even the Transport Minister, when interviewed, said, hopefully he wakes up and sees what he's doing, but he's got to make his own decisions. What? So he's been allowed then to just steamroll over all of us, and it's not right.
Great work, guys. Great effort. Keep it up, and great to see all the support you're
Thanks
getting.
for all the work you do. Superb.
Thank you.
I'll follow you anyway.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Brown car guy.
There you go. I just spoke to a cop actually earlier and asking what was the turnout today, and he said about 300 people turned out, but also there was a lot of footfall, a lot of people walking through. They had quite a few speakers as well up on the podium talking about the issues with ULEZ, a lot going on. And I think the biggest takeaway from this event was the fact that there are some quite senior people involved, and they are not going to take this lying down. So a lot of activity, a lot of action, and potentially a lot of hope that maybe, if nothing else, we could get this delayed a little bit. Anyway, stay tuned, more stuff coming up. One thing I will say, the Trafalgar Square protest that is happening later this month, on Saturday 25th, I believe, February. A lot of people are talking about it, so it looks like there's going to be a lot of people going to that. So yeah, if you can, get down to that one. That's going to be a big one.
Brown car guy.
Hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please hit the like button and share this video as well if you can. And while you're at it, check out these guys who also sponsor my content. I am deeply grateful to them because it helps me to buy new equipment, put fuel in the cars, and yes, buy a cup of coffee. You can do the same. Just go here or right here on YouTube. Just hit these three little dots down here and click on thanks. Make sure you're signed in first. My content is free, but this is how you can help me keep it that way. I may even send you a gift. Oh, by the way, watch this next.